Welcome once again to this conversation every other day of the week. Remember, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, always on TikTok from 8 p.m., whereby we get to discuss about relationships, spirituality, personal or mindset growth. And we are able to tackle every issue so that we can bring substance into our lives. This is Salim Cyrus, a life coach or an architect, and a kingdom alignment mentor. That is who I am. So I want to welcome you once again so that we can begin to structure something that is going to enable us to come to the truth of the matter. So today I want to talk about something that I know you've been trying to figure out for the rest of your life. I want to talk about sex, money, separation, and divorce, the four horsemen of marriage. Those are the four horsemen of marriage: sex, money, separation, and divorce. And I want to make it very clear so that you can begin to see the evidences of what should be done, especially in our world today. And what are the things that we need to bring together so that we can build something in our marriages. One of the things I came to discover is that we really want our relationships or our marriages to work. But the question is, how are we functioning? What are the things that we are doing? And I've come to realize that the intentions for us to become a better people in our relationships depend a lot on the various things that we want to achieve. And one of the things also is that we keep on fighting so much. Have we ever asked ourselves questions? Why do we keep on fighting in marriages or in relationships? It is because we lack knowledge. Knowledge is the substance. Knowledge is the door that opens up for new possibilities. Where divorce was almost happening, I believe in the place of knowledge, you will be able to see or you'll be able to get it right. So, my intention to come to this very moment so that I can display these realities is that you can begin to see the possibilities of making your marriage work. It is better to have a person who tells you the truth, who keeps you in check, rather than someone who just goes silent and they never speak up. So I want to go to our first point so that we can see what are those realities concerning, these four horsemen: sex, money, separation, and divorce. Point number one: sex is the lifetime or the lifeline of intimacy. Sex is the lifeline of intimacy. So, what do we mean? When sex fades, marriage begins to suffocate. Many people are in relationships, you're in marriage, and you really want to see yourselves become better. But the problem is, you've not understood, the both of you, you've not understood on how you can tackle certain issues. That is why when it comes to the both of you partnering in the idea of having sex, you keep on fighting, you keep on arguing. And most of the time we tend to see women. Women are the ones who deny their husbands, their conjugal rights. So it makes the relationship becomes difficult to be mended. And that is why we get to see people even sleeping in different rooms. Why? Because people were not willing to be intentional to proving that the relationship or the marriage can work. And it is all about coming together and discussing and talking and communicating on how the relationships can be, and the relationship or the marriage can be. Why is it that you come to hate the person you used to love? They always say there's a thin line between love and hate. But I believe before hate, there's a possibility to see things differently. And remember, we have 6 phases in marriage. And in those 6 phases, number 3, that is where many people, give up and they don't want to see themselves grow. So remember, in order for your marriage to have something substantial, stop denying your partner that opportunity to enjoy you, that opportunity to just be happy with you, especially when it comes to sex. It's not just physical. Remember, it's emotional, spiritual, and psychological. It is a glue in itself in those aspects. Because denying, it's like manipulating, your partner. Denying them, their conjugal rights, it's like, you're manipulating them and starving them and making them think they cannot, you can do without them. How should it be like that? There's a guy by the name Freud who said sexuality is the key to the problem of the individual. Sexuality is the key to the problem of the individual. So, what did this man mean? Let me make it clear, even with a verse from the Bible. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5. Do not deprive each other of marital rights, except perhaps by mutual consent for a time, so that Satan will not tempt you. So you get to see this. It is important for you to discuss about, the desire of being together sexually. If you get to find that it is impossible for you to enjoy it now, discuss with your partner. Let them know. But many women tend to deny their partners that reality. And that is why things cannot change in your marriage. Remember, sexless marriages are not holy. They are dangerous. Sexless marriages are not holy. They are dangerous. So take responsibility. Let us go to point number 2. Money is the silent weapon of divorce. Money is the silent weapon of divorce. Arguments about money outweigh arguments about cheating. Do you know what that means? It basically means when people are willing to have something in marriage, they should communicate on what they really want to achieve, even when it concerns money. Because in the area of finances, it has been founded that many divorces are happening not because of the denying of sex, but denying of understanding what money is in the relationship. Because of the lack of finances, people tend to lose that desire for each other. And that is why many couples are not willing to be a part of any marriage, any relationship. Financial instability produces emotional instability. And it is very true. There's a video on TikTok I talked about, a relationship not having that productivity because of lack of finances, and that women tend to love money more than men, because that ideology in quotes is that it's because a woman always thinks about her security, whereby things are able to be sorted out in a way that is going to make her feel much more comfortable. There's a man by the name Dave Ramsey. He said, money problems make marriage a war. Money problems make marriage a war. Do you know why? If you get to marry someone who is not willing to understand certain situations happen in life, that is where many people will begin to change when it comes to marriage. And remember the 6 phases I've told you about, and I'm going to be talking about it very soon. It's because when marriage has a lot of ups and downs, situations. Marriage has so many things. And if you want to achieve a lot of things, most of the time I always tell people, stay unmarried. There's nothing wrong without you getting married. I'm not denying the fact that it is good to get married. Marriage is something that is beautiful. It is it was God ordained. It is something that God orchestrated. Personally, I believe in marriage between a male and a female. But it is important to understand that when it comes to being in marriage, there are things that you need to consider. Don't just get inside of it because of money. All I'm saying is money is a crucial thing in marriage. And money plays a major role also in marriage. Talk about it. In the book of Ecclesiastes 7:12, wisdom is a protection even as money is a protection. But the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves life. You get it? Money is a protection itself, but wisdom protects relationships and it makes marriages become better. So remember, it's not lack of love, but lack of financial wisdom that often kills marriages. Because we have couples who have money, but because they don't know how to, to work through what they have, they begin to fight in that relationship. They are at war. They begin to battle, and it's quite unfortunate. Point number 3. When sex and money collapse together, if intimacy dies and finances collapse, separation is almost guaranteed. If intimacy dies and finances collapse, separation is almost guaranteed. And that is what we are seeing in relationships. People are so into each other. And then at some point, you know, that niche of love and excitement and pleasure began to fade away. And then in that particular moment, the relationship begins to go down because nothing is happening. And then it comes to another stage. Now there is no money, nothing for the couple to work through with. Finances are not coming in the way they were expecting. And that is where now relationships begin to lose, that idea of becoming better. And that is now when things like separation and divorce are guaranteed, because now people begin to fight. This deadly duo creates resentment and exits. These very points, intimacy, finances, they create, resentment, and people tend to lose themselves in the process. So there's a man by the name Harville Hendrick. He said something that I loved. Marriage is not supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to make you grow. And I always tell people, don't marry potential, marry reality. So marry a person that you get to understand who they are, what they are. Create an ambience between the both of you so that you can begin to see that relationship grow and becoming. Because you can't keep on fighting over the same thing. If you cannot solve it, then let it go. But the reality is in the both of you coming together and working on something that is futuristic. Couples rarely divorce because of things that cannot be reconciled. It's usually those things that are not able to be put together. There's a dysfunction in solving issues in bed and bank. You get the point? So I want you to understand, my brothers and my sisters, according even to Proverbs chapter 5, verse 18 to 19, let your fountain be blessed. In fact, your wife be blessed. Be exhilarated always with our love. So it is important, my brother, to understand being in a relationship when sex and money collapses, things begin to come about. Separation, divorce will always be present. So let us go to point number 5 or number 4. Separation is divorce in slow motion. Separation. I answered a sister one day and I told her, and she was telling me, I separated with this guy for 2, 3 years, 5 years. And I told her, I told her, there's no need of you going back because there's nothing. It's not that relationships that have separated for some time cannot work. But separation is the doorway to divorce. Because long before lawyers, separation begins in the heart. Long before lawyers, separation begins in the heart. You chose that you don't want to be with this person and you separated yourself from them. And that is why even in marriages today, people are not enjoying each other. People are not excited about each other. And people are totally fighting. So we see different rooms, no communication, outside confidence, papers only seal what's already dead. You get what I'm saying there? People tend to sleep in different rooms when these situations happen. They tend to have no communication. They tend to bring people from outside to solve for them their marital issues and all that. But remember, when you get to the divorce court and you begin to sign those papers, you're just confirming what already happened. Because marriage is not determined by papers. Marriage is a decision between the two of you. Marriage is not determined by the judges and the lawyers of a certain system. No, it is determined by the decisions that both of you made, because marriage is a decision. The famous T.D. Jakes, renowned pastor, he said, divorce doesn't start in the courthouse. It starts when the two hearts move into separate rooms emotionally. That is where divorce begins. People separate emotionally. People tend to lose themselves in the process. How can two work together unless they agree? That is Amos 3:3. The two of you should agree on something that is futuristic. Remember, physical separation is just a symptom of emotional separation already at work. Emotionally, you separated and you no longer feel something for your woman or for your man. And that is why when physical separation happens, it just reveals your emotional side. You no longer feel anything for that man or for that woman. Point number 5. Let's go to point number 5. Divorce, the legal death of a covenant. Divorce is not just paperwork. It's violence to a spiritual covenant. Remember, marriage began with God. It was God's idea. It was God's intention that the male and the female can come together. They can partner, not only to bring children into this world, but to fulfill God's intentions, the purposes of God to humanity. So divorce is not just paperwork. You go to the court and you divorce. God hates divorce himself. We can see it in the book of Malachi 2:16. For I hate divorce, says the Lord, for it covers one's garment with violence. And people tend to say, you know what, when we talk about divorce, I'm not advocating for certain kinds of violence, whereby now you as a man, you stay in a toxic marriage, or as a woman, you stay in a toxic marriage. No, I don't advocate for that. God will not be happy if you die today in that marriage. So it is important for you to be very sensitive when it comes to the issues of divorce, of separation and all that. Because divorce is not just paperwork. It's violence to a spiritual covenant. It breaks the spiritual covenant that was between you, your wife or your husband, and God, because the Bible tells us that a cord of 3 strands cannot be easily be broken. It tears flesh joined by God. Children and future generations carry the scars. So whatever you do today, remember it can be generational. It can come, in the days to come. I've seen it even in where I come from. There are things that have come up over and over. And when I look back, I say, this is exactly what happened to this and this person. So it is important to understand that divorce doesn't just end a marriage, it multiplies brokenness into families and society. Very unfortunate indeed. So, point number 6, infidelity, the illegitimate child of starved sex. Infidelity, the illegitimate child of starved sex. Sex starved marriages and neglected intimacy open the door to affairs. My dear sisters, let me talk to you. Most of the time, it is our sisters who are trying to play this game whereby they deny their husbands. And the man decides, now it's over, I cannot do it. Even nowadays, I've met women complaining, my husband does not want to touch me. My husband does not want to, lay with me and all that. And we can see these sex-starved marriages and neglected intimacy, this opens doors for affairs. Because opportunity isn't rare, discipline is. Opportunity isn't rare, discipline is. So you have to understand that situations will happen that will make you be vulnerable at the end of the day. But you have to be disciplined enough to make sure that you work on your marriage. Is it an issue concerning intimacy? Work on your marriage. Is it an issue concerning your relationship? Work on it. Do something about it. The famous C.S. Lewis said, good and evil both increase at compound interest. And I always see it is because of the difficulties that we all carry, the difficulties that are within us. That is where and why many people cannot make their relationships. Things are not working out because people are so difficult to make something out of their relationships. The book of Proverbs chapter 6 verse 32, he who commits adultery lacks common sense. He who does it destroys his soul. So look at that verse. We destroy who we are by the things we try to do. Remember, affairs are less about passion and more about poor self-control. So when you commit adultery, when you have an affair, an extramarital affair away from your partner, what you're trying to do, you are revealing, the disadvantage you have, that you lack self-control. You cannot commit to your partner. And that is why infidelity, the illegitimate child of starved sex, needs to be controlled, needs to be handled. So, point number 7, financial infidelity, the other affair. Remember, cheating isn't only sexual. It isn't only sexual. It's not only sexual. It is also about hiding your finances from your partner. That your husband knows nothing about your money. Your wife knows nothing about what amount of money you have. Hidden debts, secret accounts, reckless spending. It's betrayal. So remember, when you have these secret accounts, when you recklessly spend your money, when you have hidden debts that you don't want to talk about, it's betrayal. It is betrayal. So you have to understand, as much as we have the other kind of infidelity, we also have financial infidelity. And this is something needs to be talked about, to be addressed. My dear brothers and sisters, it is important for you to be in a place whereby you can converse with your partner, you can talk with your partner, and structure something that is fundamental, futuristic, to ensure that the relationship works. Warren Buffett said something: honesty is a very expensive gift. Don't expect it from cheap people. Cheap people are never honest. So that very point is very fundamental, and I think it is important for people to come to that realization. Proverbs 13:11, wealth obtained by fraud dwindles, but honest labor increases riches. Beautiful. A hidden credit card can end a marriage faster than lipstick on a collar. Do you get it? So be honest to your partner. Speak it. Like I said, don't marry potential, marry reality. People that are honest, truthful, faithful to you as a partner. Number 8, sex and money as weapons of control. Some weaponize sex. You won't touch me, while others weaponize money. You can't survive without me. Both are